Welcome to the Daily Dish with New York Times bestselling author Leanne Ely. Putting vibrancy back into your everyday life and feeding your heart, mind, body, and soul. Join us every day at 1 p.m. Eastern for Motivational Monday, Tuesday's Tip, Wise Woman's Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, Food Fight Friday, and of course Q&A, where no question is off limits, and Soulful Saturday. Here is your host, Leanne Ely, and the Daily Dish.
Well, I was just having a little dance. How are you doing today? It's Tuesday's tip. Not just a tip, it's a transformational tip. And heads up, this is a recorded show. You know, we usually do them live. Almost all the time we do them live, except Fridays can be a little bit iffy. Today it is being recorded, and I will tell you why down the road. Not now, down the road. Okay? Anyway, it's important. I'm picking my daughter up at 1:15, and we have things that we are up to. So today is recorded, so I'm not greeting you as you come in. So hello to everyone, and thank you so much for showing up, even though it's recorded. Our theme this week is turning mountains into molehills. We're turning that idiom on its side to discuss how we can then live our lives in such a way that we aren't the hand-wringy, explosive, catastrophizing type of women that, I don't know, maybe we're subjected to as children growing up. I know I was with a mom like that. And we don't want to do it ourselves. We will, in turn, don't want to turn around and have that be the plumb line of our lives, do we? Because it's inflammatory. I'm going to explain why in a minute. First of all, I do want to tell you that our sprint is starting this Monday coming up. Are you all in? Are you going to do this with everything that you've got? Are you going to take the 7 days and make it positively magical? You can if you make that decision to go all in. Now, if you go to savingdinner.com/sprint, there you will get all the goodies that you need, including watching the webinar. The webinar is, I say, is very important to watch because it really explains why we do the things that we do, and it makes you say, aha, that's important. You know, it's going to take you way less than an hour, and it's worth your time invested. The guide is there. Links to the kits are there. And by the way, speaking of the kits, you're going to want to get a new kit. Here's the reason why. You always save at least 15%. And this week, our supplement of the week connects right onto that bandwagon. You know how we do it? We have one of the biggest, most incredible sales going right now today. And I'm telling you this with as much emphasis as I possibly can, because if you miss this, you're crazy. We have this thing called the Appetite Control Kit. In it, there's Leptofix, there is Crave Crusher, and there are 4 bottles of Crave Crusher plus 1 bottle of Leptofix to go with it. Now, if you bought it individually, it's $217. If you buy it as a kit, it's $185. We do pass on the savings. Get this. For any Sprint kit that you buy or Hot Melt 30 kit that you buy, you will get this Appetite Control Kit 100% free. We'll just throw it in automatically. That's a humongous savings. Humongous. So if you don't take advantage of this week, all I can say is I don't know if it'll show up again. We were actually talking this morning. Are we doing the right thing with this? Is this going to cost us a lot of money? Because those kits cost more than our shipping does. But I'm trying to get you to the place of understanding that these things nutritionally can be controlled. By starting the day off with a Target Trifecta smoothie, you are going to set yourself up nutritionally for success. And by bringing your cravings under control, by using supplements that do just that, you're going to see remarkable success. The sprint starts on Monday. If you're smart, you are going to get your sprint kit, and you're also going to get that appetite control kit absolutely free. And remember, it's a 4-month supply on that appetite control kit. I think we're crazy, but take advantage of it. savingdinner.com/show. That's where you find the supplement of the week. And remember, it comes for free when you get one of our sprint kits or the Hot Melt 30 kit. That said, we have question and answer is every single Friday Are you putting your questions in? I'm happy to answer them. I'm happy to support you any way that I possibly can. All you have to do is send them into support@savingdinner.com, and in the subject line, put question for Leanne on Friday. Isn't that easy? I'll answer them. It gets put in the queue and we just take care of business. We also have our brand new book out, and so far, lots of good reviews. It comes with a workbook. This is the Getting Off the Carousel of Crazy with the workbook. And you can get the whole shoot and match at savingdinner.com/crazy. Why not? I think it's a good enough URL, don't you? And that's how you're going to find out about everything that we've got going on this week in our fantastic, beautiful, except my quote of the day. Where the heck is it? Yeah, at Saving Dinner. We always have something going on. You know, we do. We keep the challenges going. We keep, actually, their focuses, really. Right, Sarah? Their focuses. We keep it going like that so that you stay on top of things. No, there's no chance to fall off the rails because we have a different focus for the week. Now we have something else that we're doing, and we don't stray from our core principles of the hot milk sprint. We just kind of change them up a little bit, and it makes it fun. And let me just say this. Here you go. This is why we're talking about turning mountains into molehills, because of this quote. One of the happiest moments in life is when you let go of things you cannot change, because that is usually something that's going on with this molehill mountain thing. Yeah, you want to dig into this? Because I got something in here that just made my little eyeballs bug out of my head. You know, kind of like, remember the cartoons? You know, in the cartoons, Bugs Bunny sees something and his eyeballs go boing right out of his head. Sometimes I wish in real life we could do that, just simply because you feel the, whoa, here comes the cosmic 2x4. And that's what I got today, this morning, when I was reading an email, a blog post. I remember who it was from. And I'll tell you what she said in a minute. Oh, it was Marie Folio. It was Marie Folio. And it brought me to this whole place of going, you know, that is absolutely where we need to be so that we can understand how we turn mountains back into molehills instead of the opposite way around. Now, listen to me. If you are 65 years old and you expect to live to 80, you've got 15 years left. And if you want to get really granular on that, that means that you have 780 weeks left. Have you considered that? Now, Oliver Burkeman, he's the author of 4,000 Weeks. He says he doesn't pull any punches because 4,000 weeks is the average lifespan of 80 years. 4,000 weeks. So if you look at it from a 65-year-old's perspective, 3/4 of it almost is gone. Do we ever really look at our lives that way? Do we? I know I didn't, not this morning. I was thinking, I feel really young. I feel really good. I look pretty good for my age, and I feel good. I feel very blessed. But the fact remains, this is my time clock, and this is where I am in my life. I'm not at 65, I'm at 63. But if you are this age of 65, you've got 780 weeks left. So last week we talked about it, that this is the time you're born. There's a dash and there's a question mark at the end because we don't know how much time we have left. And we are living in the dash right now. We are living in the dash. We all have a life sentence. We do. You know, just like criminals do. They have life sentences. We have a life sentence. We have no idea what it is, though. The judge isn't telling us. We also have an expiration date, and we don't know what that is. It's not marked on the carton like a, carton of milk. So if we are going to be living like this, we have to, if we're going to put all of this into perspective, what we have to go back to is thinking about the clock. It's ticking. So when we say, what are you doing? Killing time, wasting time, or whatever, when we ever have that kind of thing, we're taking that precious commodity, that 780 weeks that we have left, and just saying, I don't want any of that. Let's throw away Saturday. Let's give away Sunday. We'll just dismiss Monday altogether because it's not going to feel like it, and then start going to, really, how much meaning does your life actually hold? How much meaning is actually there? So we don't know how much time we've been given, but I'll tell you what we do know. Are you ready for this? You heard me say it before. We have been called on purpose and for purpose at this time for a reason. 100%. Full stop. And once we really start to get a grip on the preciousness of that time, we then have to take a sobering look on really how our time is being spent. Sobering. Is it being spent for good? Is it being spent for edification of someone else or yourself? Is it being spent in a way that makes you proud? That says, yep, I'm here on purpose and for purpose. Are we wise with our time? And creating and building a life that is worthy of our calling, is that something that we're doing? Or are we just frittering it away? And I want to connect something here that we've talked about before. And if you were there last night for the Sprint webinar, which was live, you can still watch it now at savingdinner.com/sprint. We look at inflammation. We look at inflammatory markers and how it affects weight, it affects health, it affects the way we feel, it affects our thoughts, it affects everything. So if we look at inflammation when we are looking at it from our bodies, how it's created, how we stop it, how it impedes a vibrant life, and hopefully how to create it, right? And how to correct it, rather. We have to look at what is the definition of inflammatory. And in the dictionary, it says inflammation is a prolonged inflammatory response that involves progressive change. Get this. It is characterized by the simultaneous destruction and repair of the tissues due to the inflammatory response. So what I read in this is your body, because the inflammatory response is an immune response, all right? It really is. So if you stub your toe, you know what happens. Your toe, you feel all the pain in your toe. You're not feeling it everywhere else in your body. You're feeling it in that one spot. And your toe then, there's all kinds of chemical reactions happening and repair work is on the way. But in the meantime, there's fire and it hurts and there's pain and there's all kinds of stuff going on. So while you're on fire, your body's also repairing itself, right? That's exactly what's going on with just an inflammatory response. Now, in chronic inflammation, you've got that going on all over your body. So while your body is destroying, it's also trying to repair. And it's like when you're in chronic inflammation, it's like trying to build a house, actively build a house while part of it's on fire. You think about that, it's not going to get very far. So the logic on this is just stunning. Can you imagine? Can you imagine having your builder show up? You bought a piece of land and you're laying the foundation, and he shows up with the wood and starts building, and then all of a sudden starts burning it down at the same time. And he says, oh, well, you told me that this is what you wanted. You wanted me to build this inflammatory house. That's what our brain is doing right then when we are full of chronic inflammation. We are simultaneously destroying and building at the same time. So how's that working out for you? It's not, right? But that's how we live our lives daily. So many of us do. Those are the choices that direct the whole entirety of our lives, not just in our bodies. And the inflammatory response that we're getting, we've got food that we're eating that is starting a fire inside. And think about it. Food is there to build and create new cells in your body. But if you can't make them happen, or they're in chronic disrepair or just kind of going up, mutated. What is a mutated cell anyway? You know what that is. It starts with a C and it ends with an R and everybody's scared of it. That's exactly what cancer is. So if we are in a place of chronic inflammation, our body is fighting it every step of the way. But we do that because if we're living by an inflammatory response, we're making mountains out of molehills, for example, and we're doing this in our body, what's happening here? And if we're sitting constantly and not getting up and moving our butts, not recognizing that this body was created by God on purpose and for purpose so we can move it and do things, if you don't use it, you will lose it. Just that simple. And also inflammation will come on in and make itself at home, and you'll get more fire than you'll get build. And then there's our thoughts. They're the toxic thoughts. I'll never, I can't, I'm overwhelmed. Okay, okay, okay. That's your brain saying, all right, if that's the case, then let's make that the truth. And if that's the truth, that's an inflammatory way to live. And it's also, again, putting the fire on while at the same time trying to repair and trying to find our way. Do you see this? You see where I'm going with all of this? And if we have relationships that are hobbled with a bad back and forth, you know what I'm talking about. The dance that you have maybe with your partner, that's just toxic and never goes anywhere, and it's always the same outcome. What is that? It's a consistent inflammatory reaction where at one point it's trying to repair, but at the same time, it's burning it all down. And you could say the same thing about a job. You could have a job where you've got a toxic boss and toxic coworkers and just a toxic environment, period, to work in. Can you imagine? Walking on eggshells, afraid to say anything, afraid to even go by the water cooler in case something happens. This is an inflammatory life. Inflammatory food coming in, inflammatory thoughts being taken care of, creating everything into a knee-jerk reaction, and unable and overwhelmed and trying hard, even amongst the fire, to keep building. To no avail, though. More stuff is coming down than going up. So I said if you're going to live an average lifespan of 4,000 weeks, and you're 65, that means, remember, you've got 780 weeks left. And my question to you is this: are you willing to live those weeks in chronic inflammation, in a body that's become a burden, in a job that you dread and hate, in relationships that zap you and take everything out of you, and in your thoughts that further pull you down, making you feel like nothing? If that's the case, your life is on fire, and there's something that you can do about it. Oliver Burkeman said, he's the author, again, of that 4,000 weeks. He said, resisting a task is usually a sign that it's meaningful, which is why it's an awakening of your fears and stimulating procrastination. You could adopt, do whatever you're resisting most as a philosophy for life. And I think to me, this is kind of the antidote to all of this. Because when we are in this place of chronic inflammatory life, and we are building mountains out of molehills, and everything is just seemingly insurmountable, from our bodies to our thoughts to our relationships to everything, then we have to look for something that's going to put the fire out so we can build. Because the fire is going to keep bringing down the stuff that we're trying to build. So ask yourself this as you're contemplating these mountains in your life. Is this a mountain, or is it really a molehill? Am I trying to create something out of this that isn't there? Am I anticipating that it's going to be horrible and rotten? Am I already walking into a situation and saying, I'm overwhelmed, I can't, it's impossible, he's this, she's that? Am I? Because if you are, you have already started the process before you even walked in the door of creating a mountain out of a molehill. Am I making this into something much bigger than it is? Am I? Is my language betraying the things that I really want to have? Are my thoughts doing the same? What's my part in all of this? Am I taking wholehearted responsibility for myself, or blaming everyone else? Here's the deal. When we spend our precious time making mountains out of molehills, we're living in chronic inflammation, heart, mind, body, and soul. This is why we feel overwhelmed. And we haven't taken complete responsibility either. We've just seen it as our circumstances. Well, we can't help it. I can't help that I have all of this on my plate. I can't help that I have this or that or the other thing. I'm going to tell you what, the clock is still ticking, and the clock is not going to say, oh, well, then I'm just going to stop now so that you can get your act together, because that's not how it works. The way it works is that we wake up to the fact that we have to take wholehearted responsibility for ourselves, heart, mind, body, and soul. and we take control of the things that we can and the things that we cannot change, we just give back to God, because I promise you, He's big enough to handle it. And while we might not have an instantaneous answer and have immediate comfort, knowing that we've given it to the right God is enough. It has to be, because there is not another choice. The strength will come. The will to go ahead and to stop procrastinating, stop all the nonsense will come if we only have faith that it's possible. So the clock still ticks, the pendulum still swings, and those weeks keep flying by. 780 weeks this week, 779 weeks next week. You hear me? It's scary when you start thinking about things like that. It starts scaring when you start thinking there's a dash between my name and between my birthday and when I expire. And it's scary when you're on Facebook and you see a classmate that has suddenly died in your class, realizing that not everybody's going to have the opportunity or privilege to live 4,000 weeks or beyond. And certainly I wouldn't want to live, we don't want to live 4,000 weeks in absolute abject pain and suffering either, do we? Vibrant doesn't mean vibrancy stops at a certain age. It means it continues. And in order to get to that vibrancy, we've got to put out the fires. Scott Peck said this: until you value yourself, you won't value your time. Until you value your time, you won't do anything with it. That landed hard, didn't it? That hit me upside the head like a cosmic 2x4 today. And I'll tell you what, this is what I know. Life is entirely too short when we start to take the time to really measure it and look at it and see it for what it is. It's too short to live our lives without vibrancy. It's too short to live our lives not in full bloom. It is too short to keep doing the same thing over and over again and somehow expecting different results. You know, there's a little saying, if you will, that you've heard, I'm sure, 100 times. It was on a poster back in the 70s. And it's, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And that sounds so super corny. But you know what? Today is the first day of the rest of your lives. Of the rest of your life, you have a decision to make. Are you going to live it in chronic inflammation, heart, mind, body, and soul? Or are you going to take a full stop here and just say, wait a minute, I have way more to do on this planet. And if I'm going to live here on purpose and for purpose, I want to do it vibrantly, heart, mind, body, and soul. So I invite you next week to start full out playing the field in the hot melt sprint. This is an important way that we can start with one thing, and that is the chronic inflammation maybe that's going on in your body. You want to feel better? You start to feel better in your body. You can start to think a little bit better. You can start to do a little bit better, say better things, and move into the place of living in a vibrant way instead of in chronic inflammation. It's your choice, and it's your life, and it's up to you to decide what you're going to do with it. How about joining us on the sprint? Go check it out at savingdinner.com/sprint. Hope to see you in our group. Peace be with you. Thanks for joining me today. Bye.
Thanks for watching. You can find us on YouTube on the Saving Dinner channel or on the Saving Dinner Facebook page. Check back daily for new episodes, Monday to Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you missed the live show, you can watch the replay. Until next time, pinkies up.